to A Well-Designed Business. My name is Luann Nigara, and I'm so glad you found this podcast. Together with my husband Vince and our partner Bill, we have grown our company Window Works from the ground up. So I know and I understand the challenges you face in running your interior design business. I also know that your talent alone isn't enough to ensure your success. So on this podcast, we talk about strategies and practical steps to help you grow your business. But make no mistake about it, we have our share of fun here too, mixed in with those aha moments that I love so much. This isn't fluff. Nobody has time for that. Whether you are a new interior designer or a seasoned designer, I am here to help you create and to manage the kind of interior design firm that you dream of. It's straight talk and it's action. Are you ready? Let's get started. Hi, welcome to A Well-Designed Business. On the show today, I have Misty Maxey. Misty is the bachelor pad designer. You heard me right. Misty has decided to fully niche into designing strictly for bachelors. I'd love for you to take a minute when you can to look at her website, mistymaxey.com, mistymaxey.com. Her copy on her website is so clear, so authentic, and so perfectly describes what she does, who she does it for, and how she does it that I cannot praise her enough. Misty has always loved interior design. With two artistic parents, she believes her creative path was written in the stars. However, as you will learn today, Misty, after doing what she described as hobby designing, decided to get serious and seek out help to finally learn the difference between being a creative and being a business person. She started with an accountant and didn't stop there. I'll let Misty explain to you how she knew in order to be successful and to grow as a businesswoman, she needed to reach out to coaches and other successful designers. One thing Misty specifically mentions is how she is extremely diligent about time tracking her hours. This practice is beneficial for your business on so many levels, and I want to make sure that you know that this is yet another feature of My Doma Studio. That's right. In addition to client management, creating mood boards, and collecting a library of your favorite resources to use over and over, you can track your hours right in the My Doma Studio platform. To see all the ways My Doma Studio can help you save time, track time, save money, make money, go to mydomastudio.com/a-well-designed-business. That's mydomastudio.com/a-well-designed-business. Now, I'd like to introduce you to Misty. Hi, Misty. Thanks so much for joining me on A Well-Designed Business today.
Hi, Luann. Thanks for having me.
Oh, you're welcome. I am looking forward to this interview, Misty, because I have to say, I looked at your website and I just was absolutely blown away. Okay? That doesn't happen too often. All right. I look at a lot of websites, as you well know. And what's so interesting for me in your website, first of all, in the email between the two of us, you told me that you specialize in designing spaces for bachelors. And I go to your website and it says Misty Maxey Designs, the bachelor pad designer. And I was like, well, okay, we are off to the races here, right? So there's a lot of things that I love about your website, but I would love to just stop right there and talk about that because we know we have had many interior designers on the show tell us the value of niching into the specialty that they want to do. But I have to say, it's rare that someone literally has it as their subtitle on their website, the bachelor pad, like something so finite and so specific. Tell me about the decision to do that. And was there any part of you that was like, am I really going to put this here this loud and clear? Or did it just always, it was like, that's it, that's what I'm doing?
Yeah, Luann, I think, when I first started out, I was not sure. To be perfectly honest, I knew that niching was a really good thing for me to do, but I was a little bit scared that if I niched quite so much, that it would limit my market. And especially here in Portland, like we're not a design capital or anything like that per se. And so I just wanted to be careful about my next decision, but I'm really glad that I did it.
Wow. So what you're saying is you were sure that that was the type of design that you preferred to do and made you happy, but you were a little concerned to declare it in such an outward way. Is that what you mean?
Definitely.
Wow.
I think just, especially with the rap that bachelor pads get, and, do guys really want this, or am I going to have to spend a whole extra layer of marketing to like convince them that this is a service that they need? Or is there already a market there that's easily tapped into? And I think after really researching, this whole sub-market, metrosexuals, and how these guys are really interested in fashion and craft cocktails, craft beers, all these different interesting lifestyle type things, that there was most definitely a market here in Portland and, across the country with virtual interior design for bachelors.
I just think it's interesting. I love that you knew it was what you wanted to do, but you experienced that moment of, am I going to do it? Am I going to do it? Am I going to say I'm going to do it? To your point, you're not in a big city where there's, hundreds of, thousands of, people, and then therefore by default, many thousands in this subset. So even a little bit scary to do. But the fact is that despite your research, right? So now you say to me that you go out and you figure out, actually, there are a lot of pretty cool guys in Portland that care about this. It sounds like you probably would have plowed through anyway.
Yeah.
Right?
I think most definitely, because that, the reason that we build our own business is to do our passion and to do what we love. And so part of that is obviously working with clients that we love to work with, and the dudes are who I love to work with.
And what's funny is my brain goes to the obvious things to me why I would think they would be good to work with, but then I also can go to the things that I think would annoy me about it. So like in my experience with Window Works, typically it is when I find out that it is a single guy, I sort of do a little happy dance too, because it's usually so much more straightforward, right? It's just, I like it, I don't like it, what's the price, how are we going to make it better? I want the gadgets. They all want the motorization, which always drives the price, which is terrific too, right?
Yeah.
But every once in a while, you get that bachelor guy who has to check everything with his girlfriend or his mother, and now you're like, sweet Jesus. So what is it about for you that you like to work with bachelors?
I think it's all of those things, and that guys get a really bad rap when it comes to design. And so I want to change that narrative. And I don't think that it's fair that we're like, oh, dudes just automatically suck at making their house look awesome. And instead educating them, just like, a lot of guys, they want to level up in whatever area that is, in their business, in their career, their wardrobe, their car. They want to level up. And so giving them the information and coming in as a consultant to help them level up in their home spaces, to them being more successful outside of their house.
Okay, so I love that. So you're zeroing in on the bachelor who's out there, and that's such a great way to help us understand that ideal target client of yours, because we can all understand once the guy has had a job for 3, 4, 5, 6 years, whatever it is, whatever that moment is where he says, okay, I'm ready for that car now. I'm ready for this type of experience when I shop for my suits, right? That's often what we see. All of a sudden they'll go to a different type of tailor or whatever it might be. And you're just searching out and connecting with those guys and saying it can happen where you live as well.
Yeah, and I think also just selling them on the fact that it's a holistic approach. It's not just, okay, you get to level up this area and that area. You have to do the whole thing to make it really fruitful.
Right. Okay, so I like that. So what it is, and as a matter of fact, I said to you that I loved your website, and the thing is that the copy on the website is remarkable. I usually, when I go to somebody's website, there's hopefully at least one line that I say, whoa, that's a targeted diamond line right there. That's speaking right to their target client. But you had multiple lines on your website, and it was one of them was what you said. You have arrived, but when you think you have arrived, everything's in line. But then when you come back and you bring that date back to your home, to your apartment, it's crazy. It's like, this doesn't align with who you are presenting to the outside world, right? That's what you mean by that holistic approach.
Exactly. Yeah, and if you have arrived, when you bring that date home, she should see the same look and feel as when she's, driving around with you in your Lamborghini with your tailored suit. Like,
right.
It should be the same.
Right. It was so funny because I love your one line. It says, "You're a smart, tech-savvy, adventurous gentleman that smells like $1 million." It's like, we all love that guy, right? Yes. And that's so cool because look, the copy is meant to make us want to work with the person that's writing the copy. And I just got to think about that guy that is smart and tech savvy and adventurous and does smell like $1 million and thinks to himself, that's me, man. Yeah, that's me, right? But then he looks around. It's like, well, yeah, okay, she's right. She's got a point here. This doesn't look like the rest of me.
Yeah.
Okay. And what I love is that about this, you tell me, but it seems to me the underlying message in all of your approach to this is to say to this guy, I'm not your mother's interior designer. Like, I get you that you're different, and I'm not going to maybe, run in here. And there is the person who has arrived, the man who has arrived, and especially that, like you used the term metrosexual, that younger 30 to 40-ish sort of guy that doesn't want to, he's probably seen his mother within his interior designer and thinks that's not for me, but how am I going to get my house designed, right? My home, my apartment designed.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting, like you mentioned, a lot of mothers or girlfriends or whatnot step in and then they try to help the bachelors design their place. And then the exterior of that looks like, oh, well, now this is like a mishmash of a bunch of different styles, but it doesn't truly speak to who I am and, what my hobbies and my likes are and all of those things. It's just like aesthetically pleasing.
Interesting. That's a great point. It's so funny because I'm going to share with you what's so funny is I had a customer here that I've done her window treatments many years. She calls me up. She says, my son has just purchased an apartment in New York City. Come in and he's ordering some things and I want you to do the window treatments. Well, I go in here. She has been helping him place the orders, basically probably just doing it, for him. And what's so funny is I saw her recently and I said, how's your son doing? Blah, blah, blah. Because it had been 4 or 5 years or whatever it was. And it turned out that he is now married and he met and married an interior designer. And she completely gutted this little 3-room apartment and did everything over again because it probably looked like his mom as opposed to them. Or, of course, that's a little layer in there because she moved in. But I could see that we have great intentions. We have great taste. Let's go help our son work this out. But ultimately, it doesn't look like our son. It looks like our model of great taste.
Exactly. And guys have hobbies. Here in the Pacific Northwest, a lot of guys like to do outdoor things. And so incorporating that into their life in their home and making them feel comfortable or, selecting that sofa that does have Krypton or something that you would usually buy for the family, but for him and his buddies so that when they're drinking and watching the game and they spill something on it, he's not worried,
Right. And to your point, like outdoor hobbies and stuff, it's like, where does the bike go if it's an apartment and there's no garage? So is there like a bike rack in the foyer or something like weird things like that, right?
And like a cool looking one,
right,
Not
right.
just
like it's like a
some
trophy
weird
there
book that they got from Home Depot. It looks nice and it could be a part of the design.
Right.
It could be bikes are sculptural.
Right. I mean, I just got, when you said that, that's what I imagine. It's now it becomes a source of pride. It is like, I like this. I'm a cyclist. I'm a this, I'm a that. And so, whereas, a mother or a girlfriend or a well-intentioned sister would be like, we can't even have that in here. Get that out of here. Where you're honoring them and who they are and what they want and what they do.
Yeah, because they're the ones that have to live there all day, every day in the space and do their things. And, so why not make sure that the home, the apartment, the condo reflects who they truly are? Right.
I love it. One part of your copy says, I want people to walk into your apartment and say, bro, this looks like you. This is so you.
Exactly. Like, I don't want them to walk in the apartment and be like, oh, you went down to, whatever big box furniture place and grabbed the vignette and you plopped it in here.
Right. Okay. And so couple of the other things, because I just am so impressed by the copy, it tells everyone you have arrived. That's a great line. And then it says, on the outside, it looks like you have it going on, but the interior decor is hanging by a thread. That's another really good one. And this was the other fun one. You've taken the BuzzFeed quiz to find out your style. Now what? You did a great job. You really did a great job. I love it. And so what happens now so you've set your website up from the business standpoint, outside looking in. You've made a declaration. Misty Maxey Design, the Bachelor Pad Designer. You write all of this copy that literally speaks right directly to them, helps them understand. Now, and also too, what's interesting here is in your copy, you're not saying it point blank that if you haven't put a couple of bucks together, it's okay. But you're sort of letting them know by saying you have arrived. Your outside looks together. You're letting them decide and understand for themselves that this is going to be an investment. I'm not just going to take your hand, like you said, and walk to the box store and for a couple of hours of my time, I'm going to okay the vignette. You're doing higher level design for these guys, and you're letting them know that just like when they go to look for that cool car or that amazing high-tech, audio video equipment, this is an investment.
Exactly.
Right. Awesome. I love that you do that because you do it in a fun way, but you are speaking to the money aspect of it. I love that. You do a good job at it.
And I think guys are really comfortable. A lot of the guys are really comfortable talking money and talking ROI and talking business, and so they understand if I'm buying something and marking it up, it's not a big deal to them. They do that all the time.
Oh my God, that's so amazing. Okay. So that's very cool. How do you handle that? Talk about how you've learned that.
I'm very transparent. So my main two things for me is transparency and communication. So I want to be open about, okay, this is how my business works. This is how I purchase things. This is my markup. This is my hourly. This is how it's all going to work, and very clear and concise about how that's all going to be, and very transparent with my pricing. And then in terms of communication, I'm just keeping an open communication all the time, letting them know, if they're out of town and they're traveling, I'm still emailing them or texting them to let them know, hey, the painters came, look at this awesome finish that they put on the wall. It's coming together great. So that they don't have to be always reaching out to me to be like, hey, how's it going? What's going on with the project? I really value the communication part of my projects, and then also the transparency, because with a past working in showrooms, there are a bunch of different ways that designers do markup, and they work with their clients in those regards. And I think moving forward in our industry in particular, a lot more of like the millennials that are getting older and like actually getting real jobs, we want the transparency. And we want to understand like where our goods are coming from, and those kind of things are really important. And so I'm just setting it up that way from the get-go.
Okay, so I'm going to pull this apart a little bit. So what does this mean? I mean, we all, look, everybody throws this word transparency around like it's, whipped cream on a sundae or something, but what does it mean? So when you are sourcing your product, are you sourcing your product from trade only sources, or are you doing a combination of retail and trade? How are you working, Misty?
I'm doing a combination. So I don't require that my clients purchase everything from me, and I don't require that they purchase everything trade. So, the sofa, that's usually a trade piece because, we want to have a good high quality sofa. Same thing with like in the bedroom, you want to have a nice, good, high quality headboard. But I'm not basing my profits on getting things from the trade, from trade resources always, because I do understand that there are these big box places like House and Wayfair and Amazon where they could search and find just about anything. And I have worked in showrooms to where, you set up codes for everything to try to, or you find the most like niche trade thing so that they can't figure out where you got it from. And I honestly don't want to spend my time doing that. Like, I want to spend my time finding really cool things. And whether that means it's from a trade source, from a retail source, or from, the thrift store or the vintage place here in Portland, all those things can live together in my designs.
Okay, so here's my question. When we actually take that apart, Misty. So if you are specifying a trade sofa that has a net price to you of $2,000, how are you selling that to your client?
I'm going to sell it to them at retail. So whatever the manufacturer's suggested markup is what I'm going to mark it up.
Okay. So it has a net price. You're going to sell it at suggested manufacturer's retail. Okay. So now if that guy looks at you and says, but I found it on Amazon so it's 2,000 net, you're selling it as retail 4,000. I don't know the markup, how that works in this industry with that, because I know there's like stocking and not stocking. So what would be the retail on that?
Usually like on upholstery, it's a 3-point markup.
Okay. So
or a 2.5.
Okay, so I can't add and subtract to save my life. So if it's 2,000, it's going to be what, 4,500? 6,000. Okay. So 3 markup was 6,000. Okay. So now what if your bachelor guy looks at you and says, "Hey, Misty, awesome with that $6,000 price, but I could get that on Amazon for 4,500." What do you do?
Usually I am searching before I even get that question. So I'm making sure that when I source this thing that I'm Googling it myself to see like what is House have it at and what does whoever else have it at, Wayfair.
Okay. And then go ahead.
If it is too steep of a discount for me, I'm probably not going to source that piece. I'm probably going to look somewhere else. But it also kind of depends on a lot of different factors. Like, what's the personality of the client? Are they like, do I know that they're definitely going to search out every single thing? Are they like super managing the money like crazy, or are the reason that they're hiring me is for convenience?
Right.
Usually.
Right.
And they don't have a lot of time to like poke around, and that's one of the things too with, not to be super stereotypical, but like women, we spend a lot of time on Pinterest. So right. I find with ladies, they understand that there's Wayfair and all these different things. And so they're more likely to kind of look around or ask their girlfriends once you present something to them, and then also change their mind because they went on Pinterest and they saw another paint color that was like something they kind of liked. Whereas guys don't really do that. Like, it's like once you show them, they're like, okay, I like that.
Yeah,
sounds
looks good.
Like,
Misty says
price
it, I'll
looks
do it.
Good. Whatever, let's do it.
Right.
And so I think it really does depend, but I do try to be competitive with my prices. I can't always beat, obviously, Wayfair, Amazon, or these different manufacturers.
So, for instance, when you have your initial conversation and you set up the agreement with your client, do you say, because you said you were transparent. So does that transparency mean that you say to them, when I source a trade source, I will sell it to you at retail. When I source a retail source, I will do whatever. We'll get to that in a minute. Like, do you say that to them, or are you just, like you said there, tell me, just say, are you saying that to them when you set it up?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So in my contract, it says, that I am making, it doesn't say like Misty's going to times your $2,000 sofa 3 times and she's going to make a profit off of that.
Right.
But it does say when I do source trade, and I don't know the exact verbiage, but when I do source trade, I am making a profit off of product that I'm selling you.
Okay. So what you're saying is that you don't necessarily reference net or retail. You just put it in explicit terms that when I am selling you product, whether it's trade or retail source, I am making a profit.
Definitely.
Okay, awesome. And then how about when you do? So we understand when it's trade, you're going to shoot for retail. Thank you. I love to hear you say that. Thank you. That's the whole point for retail, that it's sold at that number, for crying out loud. Okay.
Well, yeah. I mean, Mason buys the shirt for like $3 and then you buy it for like $36,
Right. Exactly. It is the whole point. It's the retail price. But what happens and how do you handle when? So I'm hearing you. The pieces that matter, the important pieces, the anchor pieces, you are really suggesting and moving them towards trade where the quality is going to be long lasting and it's of value to them. What happens and what is it? The accessory pieces, other types of pieces that you're happy and willing to find retail. How do you work that model?
So it really depends on what package they're doing too.
Okay, right.
So if they're doing like a flat package, like let's say, $1,200 package, I'm going to pull a bunch of things that are to the trade, that are retail, that are all these different things. And maybe, if they are virtual, it might be like I get a small designer discount on this thing. And when I send it to them to buy, it's going to be my affiliate link. And I'm just going to make a little bit off that. But for me personally, like making money on the markup of the goods is not where my money is coming from. Where my money is coming from is my creative brain and my hourly. And everything that I get, like when it comes to selling product, is just extra on top of. It's not my most important thing. My most important thing is saying, hey, I am very knowledgeable in products and in what you should be putting into your home, and that's what you're actually paying for, is my mind.
Okay, so I love that. We just had that discussion recently at the Boston Design Center, that with this whole new internet craze of shopping online and everything, that you have to be very intentional that you're not selling product and commodity. Not that you can't sell product, but that your selling point, your value is that you're selling the experience, you're selling the design. And I truly, hear me, everybody. I did not say you should not sell product. I just said that that's not what you're selling when you're selling yourself. You're selling the experience of working with an interior designer. Whether your particular model is a model that sells product or not is up for you. And of course, we're going to learn from discussions like this with Misty on how she does it. But the big overarching thing is to be very confident in that you're not comparing commodity. Okay, so you mentioned your packages. So you have Modern Man Makeover for $2,800. It has an in-home space analysis, 1 hour initial, regular correspondence to floor scale plan, rendering, mood board, shopping list, paint colors, finish and fabric selection, tradesmen's recommendations if they're necessary, delivery and installation coordination. Then you have $1,200 in space analysis, the same regular correspondence. Okay, what's missing here? So what's missing here is finish, fabric and selection, tradesman, delivery and install coordination. That's what's missing. And then we go down to the budget bachelor pad for $500, and now we are not getting a shopping list, or we're not getting a rendering. Is that? And we're not getting, exactly. In $1,200 we're getting, in the middle one we're getting intentional decluttering. I love that. Yeah. How come that's not in the $2,800?
Because I mean that's a part of it, and the $2,800 is really starting at $2,800. So that's, this is the base. Like, if you really want me to just come in and get it done for you, and like you don't have time, and you trust me, then I could come in and I could remake your space, and I could, do all the project management and all of that. Whereas with the $1,200, I do find that, the clients, they are getting the shopping list, but maybe they have some things that they like better that they've already been looking, or different things like that. And so I'm open with them doing part of the work too, I guess.
Okay.
And when it comes to the $500 package, that's really like a DIY. Like,
Right.
this
Almost
is
like e-design.
exactly. This is the vision for what I have for you. Like,
Right.
this
but
is the vision.
Run around with your
basically.
mother and your sister and pick it
But
all
now
up. Get
you
it.
can go, yeah.
And
this
you're
is,
not even giving shopping list there. You're giving a mood board. You're giving a suggestion of this is the type of sofa, this is the type of rug. You're not even specifying exactly.
Exactly. But I am telling them the dimensions of each thing. So you
Okay.
should have, this size of sofa. You should have this size of rug, because I do find that those are the biggest mistakes that anybody makes in design, is the scale piece. And like, how high do you hang art, and
Oh
how
goodness. Yeah.
big of a rug do you need under your sofa so that it doesn't look like Aladdin's magic carpet, and
Right.
all these different things.
Right, because that has that to scale floor plan there. Okay, so the thing is now, so I noticed that the first two packages, that the budget for 5 and the gentleman's headquarters for 12, they're a set price, and as you said, the Modern Man Makeover is starting from. And so that's the entry level to full service design, it sounds like. And then as you have your meeting with them and you start the process of working with them, you can let them know if there's going to be other things that they are expressing they should have or need, and you can price accordingly.
Yeah, and typically, on contract, I have a general idea of how long and how much it's going to take for me, because I'm really good at recording my hours, and I've been doing that since I went to school. And so I always have a general idea of how long a project's going to take me. Mind you, some things do get out of hand and they keep reselecting, and I do address that in my contract as well. Like, if you've already selected something and approved it, and then I'm reselecting, I'm going to be charging you at my hourly to find that piece again.
Okay, so let's do that. So that's awesome. So say somebody takes the $1,200 package, and it includes the 1 hour initial, the correspondence to the 2-scale floor plan, the intentional decluttering, the rendering, the mood board, the shopping list, and the paint colors. You present it, and they say, I don't like those paint colors and I don't want that sofa. Is there any revision that's included, or is it automatically, sorry, dude, that's another 125 on my hourly rate?
No, those initial revisions are included in the price.
And how many do you let them do before you start saying stop it?
It really, I don't say specifically in my contract, like, you get 2 revisions or something like that, but it just says a reasonable amount of revisions. So in my mind, that's 2.
Have you ever had a situation where you felt like you said to yourself, I'm sorry, I have the word reasonable in there because this person doesn't understand it, or has it always been fine?
It's always been fine with the guys. I have had a few ladies that are like, just in the past, that have reselected and reselected, where at a certain point, and even I'm working on a commercial space right now, and there's 3 partners, and they are all guys, but they all have different opinions about how things are going to work. And we started off, this is the base of what I'm going to present to you, these things, and it was at a base price. And then now they've revised and revised, and then, permits come, and then we have to revise again because they want us to move the bathroom or whatever. And so so that communication piece, I always front load everything. I know we're on our second selection for this sofa. Just so you know, if I have to select it again, I'm going to start charging you at the 125. So it does say like a reasonable amount in my contract. And then I'm also very clear in presentations with communicating to them, like, we don't have a bunch of time to keep reselecting things.
I love that. I love that. I love that you said I front load the conversation with, I know we're on our second selection, and after this, we're going to be looking at hourly, because that is the perfect way. And I have to tell you, I recently, where was I? I was somewhere recently in a live event, and I felt like this is the exact advice that should happen when you're delivering good news too, because there was an occasion where somebody was expressing to us that they are troubled by how often a client, when you give them your invoicing for the week or the month or whatever it might be, for your hours, that the client is pushing back and saying, I can't believe you spent 12 hours on this. I can't believe you spent 14 hours on my project. It doesn't seem like anything is done. And the end of the question was that the designers said, and the crazy thing that really upset me is that we are under hours to that point in the project at this point. And my brain just went, well, how is it that you're not saying that every week? So this month I'm delivering your hours package, and we have budgeted for 14 hours a month, and this month we've only used 12. This month we've have 2 from last month that we applied to this month, and we're right at our, the 16 puts us right on target. Like, I was just like, if your client, if you're giving them an invoice for hours and you're actually under hours and they're pushing you back, that means you haven't communicated with them.
Exactly.
Right.
And that's where, those two main things, like I said, communication and transparency, like always letting them know when something is really good. And even in those times where, the case good comes in and the leg is snapped off and you're like, oh my gosh, I don't want to call them right now and like tell them that the leg is snapped off. And so you're like getting it fixed really fast before it's delivered. And, but just being open with them about this thing that happened, because stuff happens. And so I'm not the kind of designer that because I have worked in showrooms where we just put a little furniture pen on there and buff it up and just hope that they don't see it. I am not that kind of person. I'm going to be like, hey, the leg snapped off of your thing. I paid out of my pocket to have it fixed, and I'm not going to charge you for it. And just so you know, it's been fixed. And if you have any issues with it, let me know, because there's a warranty from the guy that fixed it.
So let me just ask you, why, if it gets delivered to you, you're there on site, the sofa is opened and the leg is snapped off, why are you feeling the responsibility to pay that?
Well, I'm going to pay the guy to fix it, but ultimately the company or the freight company is going to pay for it. Okay. In the moment, you're just you're resolving the problem and not getting bogged down into the details of making the. Okay, understood. Love it. Okay. Yeah, I'm going to send the
invoice
out,
to the
or
yes.
When we hopefully, if it's always tricky with receivers because sometimes they don't open everything, which is really frustrating, but it does happen. And so as soon as I see something, or if the receiver calls me and they're like, hey, this has happened, I'm going to get on it right away.
Right. No, I just took it at face value what you said, and I thought, what? Why are we doing that? Okay.
No. It's on the freight. It's on the manufacturer. It's not on me. But I want to be I want to be transparent with my client. This is the guy that I use all the time. There's a really good guy here. His name's Shelby with Wood Tech. I use him all the time. He's great at fixing case goods.
That's terrific.
And so I will even tell them, this is the guy that I used. He has a warranty on anything that he fixes. And so if you have any trouble with the leg, let me know or let Shelby know, and we'll be happy to fix it for you.
Right.
Instead of waiting, let's say, whatever. I've never had a problem like this, but I'd much rather, once again, front load things by just being transparent instead of they get it there and it's never happened, but let's say Shelby didn't fix it correctly or whatever, and then the leg falls off, and then they're like, what the heck? What did you sell me?
Right. No, I agree. I love it. I mean, we have to be able to know, first of all, just take for granted that stuff is going to go wrong. That's how it is. It's business. You know what I always say, if you don't want any problems, stay in bed, right? So, but we have to understand that. And it's really all about the how we handle it, how we come up with the solution, and then also how we express both of those things, how we're taking care of it, what the solution is. And to not be dramatic about it. It just is what it is. The leg is off. I fixed it. You know, here's your warranty, dude. You know what I'm saying? So I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Okay. So, you have these 3 packages. Do you have one that you sell more often? Are you more doing full service? Are you more doing the e-design, sort of the remote? What's happening with that, Misty?
I think I am selling the most of the gentleman's headquarters. And I think that has a lot to do with sometimes the clients don't see the return on investment, or they're a little bit scared about, you know, this starting from 2,800. So like, how fast am I going to get things done? And am I going to just be racking up like 125 an hour? And so I think the 1,200 is a little more safe for them. They get all the things that they really want. Like, they're into the, you know, the 3D renderings, and I'm working on right now. I use Chief Architect, and they have virtual reality. And so I'm working on putting that together right now. But they love those kind of things. And so they get all of that, but it's at a safe, like, cutoff place for them.
Right.
A lot of times, though, those $1,200 projects, maybe that's just like, I do a lot of condos. And so that's like their great room area, you know, their open space. And then they're like, okay, I want to do my bedroom now. And then we'll bump it up to more the $2,800, and I'll do the bedroom and the guest room. And then, you know, we'll do some paint and different other things.
Okay.
But I think that the reason that they start with that middle ground is because it gets them all the initial things, and it gets them some time to work with me, and then really know my personality and the style that I work with. And also, through that transparency and communication, they know that I'm not just there to like screw them over and like bleed them dry of all their money. Like, I'm not just out shopping and like trying to just make as much money off the project as I can.
That's so funny. I can hear it in your voice. So, but the thing is, and that's the other thing too, we should make note of. These prices that we talked about for the deliverables are for a room, a good sized room, but it's not for an apartment or a home or anything like that. It's for per room. So what's funny is, I agree with you. I think that the starting from 2,800 can be a little like, well, what does that mean exactly? But of course it has to be that way, because you have no idea what really, when you go into full service, what it could lead to, and you can't quantify it. And also too, we just know as human nature, we tend to go, you know, we tend to do the Goldilocks thing. It's a little too much. It's a little too high. I like the middle. I mean, that's what happens. If you give people 3 choices, they're going to pick the middle. I mean, most of them are. You're always going to have people that will just look and say, hey, give me one of those $500 babies. I'm off to the races. And people who know that they are ready to invest and look for that full service. So, and I would have to just say to you, like, I'm just going to take like a 2-second coaching thing here. And I want to talk to you about that, because off air, Misty mentioned to me that she has done a lot of business coaching before opening her business. So I didn't ask her anything more than that. So I'm looking to get that experience there and what you've learned. But I have to say, me just objectively looking at this, knowing human nature, knowing that you actually have the data that says that most people buy the middle package, I would inch that middle package up a little bit more. I would even go $1,450. Because the thing is, if I come to this website, or I would go $1,375, let's say that. If I come to this website and I see 500, $1,375, and 2,800, I'm still going to take the middle one. Like, they're still going to do it. It's not, you didn't inch it up enough that I say, oh, there's nothing here for me. Because what I know is somebody that spends $1,200 will spend $1,400. And the only thing that I don't like $1,400 is it's half of the 28. So not knowing exactly the work that's involved, if really what you're doing is a little bit more than half of the work from a starting package of 28, then I might even make it $1,600, right? And if I know for a fact that it really is less, then I would probably do the 1,300, 1,350. And here's the only reason you might look at me and say, Lan, who cares about $175? But if you sell, see, I have to get my calculator out now because I can't add and subtract to save my life. But if you sold 24 of those, 2 a month, and we times that by $175, that's $4,200. You and your little babies can go to like Disneyland now.
Yeah, I mean, I can definitely see how that could be helpful, but I also, so I did, like you did mention that I did work with a lot of business coaches, and I did work with a market research company here in Portland.
Oh,
and they
specific to Portland.
Yeah, they did a survey of my target market and asked them, because I did have different packages in the past, and they asked them a lot of questions about, how much would you pay for this and how much would you pay for that? And so after getting those, analytics, I was able to kind of land on this price. And I think the good thing about it is that they do feel like they're getting a little bit of a deal. And then it turns into more work usually. Okay. Almost always, like 80% of these $1,200 packages, they add something else on.
Okay.
Down the road.
Okay, look, I still stand by what I said because I've been selling for 36 years and they've been collecting data and I've been doing it, but I am fine with it because if you tell me 80% you are turning into other business, then it doesn't matter now. It actually doesn't matter what the starting price is as much because you, as a talented interior designer, making a connection with people and giving them value and giving them service are converting it into the extra money anyway. So there's no reason to worry about it. So awesome. So that's the thing for me that makes me comfortable in accepting that. Otherwise, I would not. I would push you back again because that's how I am. So, okay, good. Love it. Okay, so let's take a few minutes before I let you go. Tell me about the type of that's a very intentional thing to do, Misty, to sit there and hire somebody to do market research and gather data on buying patterns and buying price points and everything else. What other things did you do before you opened the business or you rebranded it, whatever the case was?
Well, I worked with quite a few coaches here in Portland that were just business coaches and they were males. And so I just asked them a lot of questions. I'm really good at sales, but I did not know very much about marketing, especially. Like I understood the premise, but I was like, what am I doing? It's just confusing.
Sure.
Also, for you niche. And I realized too, since I've niched even more, it's been way easier for me to talk to my people online in particular. In person, it's easy because the person's there, but online, it's like you're talking to this person that you don't see them.
Right.
So that was part of it, and just getting more information about like how do businesses usually run, because I understand the interior design side of everything and how processes and procedures are, but like how do you actually run a business? And so just getting a lot of information about that, and looking at P&Ls and like looking at the numbers, basically, like what are my margins, like how do I make sure that I'm actually profitable, because for years I was just like a hobbyist, wasn't really like running a business. It was just like something I loved to do and I was passionate about. But now, like, I'm a single mom. Like, I got to go out there and I got to hustle and I got to make money and I got to take care of my kids, And so at the end of the day, like, yeah, it's great if I like am passionate and I love working and like I work and work and work and work. But if I don't, like, at the end of the month, if I'm like, oh, wait, I don't have any profit to pay myself, like,
that's not going to work. Right.
It's not going to work. It's not going to be sustainable. And then I'm not going to be able to keep doing what I love to do.
Mm-hmm. I hear you. I'm so thrilled that you did this. So now everybody is thinking, where did you find these local business coaches? Did you use SCORE? What did you look on the internet? Because it sounds like you work with them in person. And it sounds like to me that you started with saying to somebody, could you sit and work with me and explain to me my P&L statement? Could you explain to me how the margins work and explain to me how I evaluate if I'm making money? Is that what you did?
Yeah. So with the money piece, it really just started with an accountant and having an accountant help me like set up QuickBooks Online and like have real accounting happening, actually seeing like what money was coming in and out.
Right.
And to be like a legal business, you know.
Right.
So it started with that, and then my first business coach really came from like in-person networking event. And so I just really connected with this one guy and just felt like we would be a good fit, and that he was willing to like he understood that I'm more of a creative, more intuitive, and he honored that, but he also like pushed me into like, okay, like we know you're really good at sales, but like what about this or what about that? And like let's grow in these areas that you're not as good at, or find people that are really good at that to do it for you.
Good. Very good. So,
Yeah.
I mean, this is sounds like a critical understanding of your foundation of setting up your business intentionally out the gate, and really understanding. And I love that you shared that it came from after, you know, several years of doing it as a hobby, and, you know, probably thinking, oh, I just finished that job and I have $400 in my pocket and that's awesome. And I'm going to, you know, go take my kids to, you know, Six Flags with it or something. Right. But when it became, it's time for me to support my children and to pay my bills and to run this household off of this, then you were intentional and said, okay, let me figure this out.
Exactly.
Very
And
good.
then the other side, you know, so I have the in-person people, but they are not well versed in our business. And our business has so many different nuances and all these different moving cogs and pieces. And so it takes a lot of time to explain how everything
Yes,
works in our industry before anybody can like help you.
it's true.
And so with that, with knowing that, I had been working with Alicia Wicker in her masterclass, and just got a lot of information and just you know, learn even more. I'd already worked in a To the Trades showroom, so I got to hang out with all kinds of designers, you know, big designers here and designers that were not as successful and then now are like super successful, and I love to see them like 10 years later, like,
Oh,
wow, this is amazing.
wow. How
Um,
fun.
so that, and then, you know, spending time with these designers in the master class and seeing how they were doing their business, and then also finally just doing one-on-one coaching with Alicia, because she understood in the master class me talking about like, I want to do this niche, or I want to do this thing, or I want to do that thing. And so I feel like she already really had a really good understanding of like what I wanted to do and who I was, and we had a good relationship. And so being able to work with her one-on-one pretty intensely to get everything really zeroed in, and just use, you know, it's like any coach, it's like how I was talking about with the guys, is like, as a consultant, I want to take them to the next level. And when I work with a coach, I want them to take me to the next level. So I want them to tell me like what I'm doing well, but I'm paying them to tell me like what I'm screwing up on.
Right. Right. It's
Because
not
like,
therapy.
you know, we can't see, like we have blind spots, you know, and so to have somebody else be like, okay, this is a blind spot, like what are you gonna do about that? You know, it's super helpful.
Good for you. Good for you. You're a smart lady. I have to say, I think it's awesome. And I agree. The coaching from somebody in the industry and out of the industry is helpful, because what's funny is I'm in it, but I'm not in it. Right. So my business model doesn't work with the way your guys' business model works. But of course I talk with you guys every single day of the week. And so I have an understanding of it. But I do think that does help push you a little to just like, this is how the rest of the world is doing this stuff, and you guys don't have to do it that way. But then you have my husband, who is even further outside of it, and he just is like, no, you make money. This is how you make money. I don't care what the model is. Like you can't, you know, buy it for $2,000 and sell it for $2,500. That's not how this works, right?
Yeah.
So I love that you went to people both in and out of the industry. I love that you just went for help to begin with, because it is the difference between setting up something that is, as you said, sustainable and something that will be able to support you and your children and also make you happy and create spaces for your clients that you can keep doing over and over again because you're going to still be in business next year, right?
Exactly.
Exactly. So the bottom line here is that I just want to say, I think that it's awesome that you do you, Misty. I really do. I think that you really wanted to work in this segment and you had that gut feeling and you pushed through the fear of doing it and did it anyway. And it seems like it's very successful for you.
Yeah. And I'm really glad that I did push through the fear.
Yes. And so any other than pushing through the fear, was there any other particular challenge or advice that you think you could share to a fellow designer out there that's sort of in the same, boat that you have been in or about to be in?
Yeah, I think just piggybacking off that fear, there's a book that I read. It's called The War of Art by Stephen Pressfield. Okay. And in the book it says, the amateur believes he must first overcome his fear, then he can do his work. The professional knows that fear can never be overcome. He knows there's no such thing as a fearless warrior or a dread-free artist. And so I would just like to instill that in the other designers that you're never not going to be scared. Like when you're doing the next thing, like you're always going to be scared. And so like pushing past that to do the next big thing that you want to do is the only way that you're ever going to do it. Like if you let the fear just hold you there, you're never going to move to the next step. And so a lot of times when I do feel overcome with fear, I read this book and it really does help me to move forward and just do the next thing.
That's awesome. I love that. I have to say, I just literally in 2 separate coaching sessions in the last 6 weeks have said the same thing to each of the people. One person was considering hiring their first employee and the other person was considering renting a space. Both are ready to do exactly that. Both have analyzed from a financial standpoint that it's feasible to do. And each said to me, but when am I not going to be afraid to do it? And I said, sweetie, you're never not going to be afraid to do it. You're just not.
Yeah,
there's a difference. There's a fear that comes from knowing in your gut that you have no idea what you're doing, that you have not done the work to figure out if you can afford the employee or you can afford the rent or if it's right for you or not. And then there's a fear that is just, okay, I know this is right. I feel it in my gut that this is a right thing to do. I've proven it to myself on paper that it's a right thing to do, but I've got this little butterfly fear. And sometimes the fear is a fear that keeps you up at night. It isn't sometimes butterfly. Sometimes it's bigger. But that's, if you're a thinking, feeling human being, if you are taking on someone's responsibility of their payroll, you're always going to have a little fear of it. If you are putting another bill on your plate and that might take something away from your children or their lifestyle, you're always going to have a fear. But there's a difference between a calculated, educated, and my thing is, I agree. You're never not going to make a decision and not. We're 36 years. We just hired a new employee 2 months ago, and we're looking at each other we put the new employee on in January. January is notoriously not a profit month, and we just keep looking at each other going, we did the right thing. Yeah, we did the right thing. Yeah, we did. We need her. We have to have her. It's going to be busy in 2 more months, and we're going to be, thank goodness she's here and she's trained. You're just never not afraid. It doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Awesome. So good. So that's a terrific quote. I love it. I love that book. It's called The War of Art. It sounds like an awesome book that our friends should listen to and read and pick up. Mm-hmm. And I love that you come back to it when you need it.
Yeah, it's like he has another one called Do the Work. And it's like,
oh, I have heard of that one.
So procrastinate. It's like 100 pages. I'll put it on Audibles and just sit here and get to work. And
it's like, it's, what do I say? Decide, right, Misty? Just decide to do it. You can collect the information. You can collect all the advice all day long. You can understand that you need a system. You can understand that you have to learn your numbers. But when it comes down to it, you have to actually just decide to do it.
Yep.
Right?
And do it.
And do it. And do
then
the work.
Sometimes you just fall on your face and get
That's
back
right.
up.
It's so true.
Learn again.
That's so true. It's so true. I mean, you cannot, what did I just say a little while ago? If you're not going to make a mistake, stay in bed. Good for you. Have a great life. The rest of us are out here getting scraped knees, right?
Amen to that.
Oh, that's awesome. I'm so happy to have met you, Misty. I am looking forward to seeing where your business goes and what you do with it. And you'll have to come back in a couple of years and let me know what's going on with all of this, okay?
Yeah, I would love to. Thanks so much for having me, Luann.
Oh, you're welcome. There is so much to love in this interview and about how Misty runs her business. You know what my favorite part is? Misty has her eyes wide open. She is willing to do the hard work of working on her business. She recognizes in order to be successful, she has to stop the train and get help and advice in the areas that she's not strong in. She's also willing to declare the market she wants to design for, and she has passion. She has a passion not just for the design, but for continuing to learn. Maybe the books that she mentioned will help you too. Both books are by Steven Pressfield. The first one is The War of Art, Break Through Your Blocks and Win Your Inner Creative Battles. And the second one is Do the Work, Overcome Resistance and Get Out of Your Own Way. And I hope you'll take to heart Misty's advice and encouragement to you to understand being an entrepreneur is no walk in the park, and there are days, moments, and decisions that will scare the heebie-jeebies out of you. Misty is so right. By pushing through the fear, by doing what scares you, you level up, you make things happen. And I want to add, if you are a designer and you own your own business, I want you to start calling yourself the CEO of an interior design firm. Try it on. Next time someone asks you, what do you do? Try saying, I'm the CEO of an interior design firm, because that's exactly what you are. So I wanted to say, if you are in the New Jersey, New York metro area, the Valerie Fund Show House has opened. It opened a week ago. And tonight, April 30th, 2019, if you're listening in real time, there'll be a tour of the house and a book signing, and I will be there. So, and also one of my co-authors, Nicole Heimer, the CEO of Curio Electro, will be there with me signing books. You know how many times I've told you how fantastic Nicole is. She is the brand expert, and she is insanely talented website developer. I hope you'll join us at the Valerie Fund. You can find information on my website, luannniagara.com. Now, if you're not local and you want to get your hands on our book, loaded with 12 chapters, all designed to help you take your business to the next level, you can get your copy at luannniagara.com/book2. Okay, luannniagara.com/book2. You have goodness and guidance in this book from Michelle Williams, Nancy Ganzikaufer, Fred Burns, and 9 other authors, coaches. It's like having 12 coaches all at once in your hands, helping you level up your business. And tomorrow, May 1st, 2019, I'm headed out to Palm Springs to the Interior Design Society Conference to talk about being profitable and master sales techniques. So if you are going to the IDS conference, please come and say hi and introduce yourself to me. I'd love to get to know you. Thanks so much for joining me today. Please take a page from Misty's book and do something for yourself and your business to get you to the next level. Decide to be excellent. Thank you so much for joining me again today. This podcast is a production of WindowWorks, your resource for custom window treatments and awnings. To learn how we can help you on your next interior design project, go to www.windowworks-nj.com. And if you're interested in working with me on your business, either through masterminds or one-on-one coaching, or you want to know how to get my book, The Making of a Well-Designed Business, or you just want to know what's going on in the podcast land and where I'm going to be, all of that is found at luannniagara.com. Thank you so much. Have an excellent day.